What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, according to reports, undefeated former WBO two-division world champion, super middleweight world champion, Billy Joe Saunders, British superstar boxer, suffered a very, very serious injury, eye injury to his right eye in his fight with a unification bout with four-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer who was the unified WBC, WBA super middleweight world champion, Saul Canelo Alvarez. With that said, Canelo Alvarez, he got a 8th round TKO victory over Billy Joe Saunders after Canelo Alvarez essentially broke Billy Joe Saunders' right orbital bone. With that said, Billy Joe Saunders, he kept ducking down to his right. I had to fight a tie at that point in time, four rounds to 4, clearly giving the 8th round to Canelo Alvarez. Billy Joe Saunders, he kept leaning and ducking down to his left. Okay, he's a southpaw boxer. He kept dipping down to his left, and Canelo Alvarez was throwing right hooks and he was throwing right uppercuts. Okay, and eventually he got caught, on his right eye, ducking down, leaning in, and Canelo Alvarez caught him with a hook and an uppercut, and eventually he broke Billy Joe Saunders' orbital bone. Okay, that's what's being reported. It's a very serious injury. This is the same injury that former IBF welterweight world champion British superstar boxer Special K, Kell Brooks, suffered in his fight. And then he suffered it again, repeat, in his fight with Errol Spence Jr. He suffered it the first time against Gennady Golovkin. Then 9 months later, he suffered another injury to the opposite eye against Errol Spence Jr. Okay, so this seems to be a recurrent affair with these fighters. So Billy Joe Saunders, I gave him the first round. I gave Canelo Alvarez 2, 3, and 4. Then I gave Billy Joe Saunders 5, 6, and 7. Then I gave Canelo Alvarez round 8. I thought it was an entertaining fight. Canelo Alvarez was definitely the heavier handed boxer in this entire equation. He was landing the more, heavier punches, the cleaner punches. He was landing the more effective punches, should I say. Now Billy Joe Saunders, the rounds he did win was because of his jab. It was because of, he would throw a flurry, a combination here and there, land a few clean punches, but nothing, too significant to hurt Canelo Alvarez, just enough on points where he was keeping Canelo Alvarez inactive and he was winning the fight. So, winning the rounds. So with that said, Canelo Alvarez, he was definitely landing the harder, cleaner punches, but it was a close fight. I initially picked that Billy Joe Saunders would win a split decision victory, and it seems to be trajecting into that, area. But the judges, all 3 judges, once again had Canelo Alvarez up big on all the scorecards. Okay, this is just a reoccurring affair. I thought that maybe the judges will see it and actually score the fight, in a manner it should be scored. I thought that they would give Billy Joe Saunders a split decision victory. But according to the reports and the judges' scorecards, all 3 judges had Billy Joe Saunders down big on the scorecards, okay? That hurts the sport of boxing. It's like you didn't even watch an entertaining fight, okay? So with that said, back to the injury. This is a very serious eye injury that Billy Joe Saunders has suffered in the fight. And it's going to be very interesting to see how his career goes moving forward. Billy Joe Saunders was never the most active fighter to begin with. Now having an injury of this magnitude moving forward, it's interesting to see if Billy Joe Saunders is going to, essentially be active, or how is he going to bounce back? Is it going to, end his career ultimately? Okay. Is he going to, have concerns about that eye? Worrying about his vision and so on moving forward. So with that said, there's a lot of concerns about Billy Joe Saunders' eye, and we don't know what's going to be, the outcome moving forward for his career. I truly hope that he bounces back. because it's the sport of boxing that I love. So I want to see Billy Joe Saunders bounce back. Billy Joe Saunders is still a big name within the sport of boxing. He still put up a valiant effort against Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is a great fighter, So with that said, hopefully Billy Joe Saunders gets healthy and gets back. It looks like Canelo Alvarez could be going into an undisputed showdown with IBF undefeated super middleweight world champion superstar boxer Caleb Plant in September, Mexican Independence Day weekend. So we have to see how that unfolds and plays out. But with that said, this was a huge victory for Canelo Alvarez. He's now a 3-belt holder. He holds the WBC, WBA, and the WBO, as well as the Ring Magazine belt. This is deflating for Billy Joe Saunders, obviously. His team, it's the first loss of his career. But ultimately, it's the eye injury that's concerning, because we never seen Kell Brook never looked the same after he suffered that injury against Gennady Triple G Golovkin. He was always seemed to be, pouring at it. He's always seemed to be very wary of it. He just never was the same boxer. Is Billy Joe Saunders going to be able to bounce back and be the same boxer? Okay. Not to mention he's a southpaw boxer, and that's his right eye. So, the jab is going to be, on that right eye on a consistent basis when he's fighting orthodox fighters, this is going to be interesting to see how Billy Joe Saunders bounce back, and if he even bounces back. Okay. What is going to be his plans moving forward? He thought that this was his opportunity. He stated that, for his legacy defining fight, but Billy Joe Saunders' body language in the fight, his game plan, he asked for the bigger ring. I thought he was going to utilize the ring and move, but as soon as the fight started, Billy Joe Saunders was standing right in front of Canelo Alvarez, okay? He did make Canelo Alvarez miss a lot. He's a slick boxer. He's a southpaw, but Canelo Alvarez was going to the body. He was making a lot of little subtle mistakes, okay? Like I said, he kept dipping to his left, okay? And then he was dipping to his right. And dipping to his right, So when he dipped to his left, he left his right eye vulnerable, and Canelo Alvarez was throwing hooks and uppercuts on that side. And eventually he dipped there one too many, and he kept, he's in a southpaw stance, so he kept putting up his left hand to block Canelo Alvarez's right hook, right? But as he was doing so, he kept leaving this wide open, okay? And Canelo Alvarez caught him with a left hook. Boom, he kept doing this, or he kept dipping down this way. He wasn't, putting the earmuffs on. At times he was, but he was doing so going back in a straight line. For the most part, he kept putting up his left hand to prevent himself from the right hook, but he wasn't tucking his chin and his eye to prevent from the left hook. So he would put up here, but he'd leave himself wide open, or he would dip down to his right and leave himself wide open. So Canelo Alvarez caught him with a left hook. With a right uppercut, right hooks, and ultimately a left hook. And you saw the effect of that right eye. That's the injury he suffered, okay? He should have, Floyd Mayweather, when he fought Canelo Alvarez, yeah, he's an orthodox fighter. So, Floyd Mayweather would be here, but he was tucking his chin here, so he was tucking here. And then, but he would keep his chin down, his eye down, and his right hand up, and left hand to protect his body. And he shoulder rolled. Billy Joe Saunders was putting up here on the southpaw end, right? But he was leaving this wide open. He wasn't tucking and putting it away. And ultimately, he paid the ultimate price. He suffered what could be a career-ending eye injury, Like I said, not too many guys move after suffering such eye injuries. They're usually never the same, okay? Hopefully he is the same. Hopefully he bounces back. It's interesting to see how he bounces back. Like I said, Canelo Alvarez, he's going to move on. He'll be fighting Caleb Plant, who's a much bigger guy than Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is 5'11.5" with a 71-inch arm reach. Canelo Alvarez is 5'8" with a 70-inch arm reach. Caleb Plant is 6'1" with a 74-inch arm reach. And he's a lot slicker than Billy Joe Saunders. He's more defensive savvy than Billy Joe Saunders. And he has a more accurate jab than Billy Joe Saunders. And I believe Caleb Plant, he has more power than Billy Joe Saunders, But, we're going to have to see if Caleb Plant, could weather the storm, because you're going to have to weather some storms when you're dealing with Canelo Alvarez. You cannot make tons and tons of mistakes. So we're going to have to see if Caleb Plant ultimately could, weather the storm, stay disciplined, use the stick, use the jab. If you're going to ask for a big ring like Billy Joe Saunders asked for, then you got to use your jab. You got to use the stick. You got to keep him at bay, control the distance. He didn't do that very well. He was giving up the distance. He was moving straight back on a straight line. He was tucking and hiding and sitting on the ropes and letting Canelo Alvarez tee off on him. That's absolute no-no when you're dealing with Canelo Alvarez. So let's see how this all unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Hey, this is Ebony Bridges, Blonde Bomber, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.